Yes, I'm live. I'm live. I think there's somebody there. Hello. Hello. I'm in this nature park. It's all like run on like solar power and everything. So if you're here, say hello down the bottom right hand corner, that would be fab. If you're joining me from not live, then welcome. Tonight is Wednesday night. And we've got, I'm going to add that on as we go along this phase. So things that we're going to cover tonight. So I'm going to be looking at taking a mindful approach to everything. And of course, this phase is about personalization. So it's about, I gave you sort of specific things just to start off with, miracle mornings. But as you do these in the morning, what's going to be happening is that you are going to be becoming more conscious of your choices throughout the day. But then you might be starting to think things like, wait a minute, I'm still getting those cravings, still getting like these. We are all women over 35. Like red wine, we get better with age, don't we? So, but we do have to take a more individualized approach to this. So if you remember from week 1, when we're in the preparation stage, I sent you out a tracker, or I suggested that you look at some 5 things: your sleep, your hunger, your mood, your energy, and your cravings. When we've got those in balance, you can pretty much know that your body is in balance. And maybe holding us back from coming into balance. And I know a lot of the common ones of these, so I'm going to be going through these this evening with us. So we should be finished by about 6:40, I think it'll be your time. So I've got, as you'll notice, I've got my notes in front of me. It's just to keep me on track, because I have a tendency to go as I think about things. It's just to keep me on track. So personalization, how do we personalize this? I mentioned in the first week, I want you to forget about dieting or having an exercise program, following an exercise program that somebody else's, that's a one-size-fits-all solution. There isn't that. What we do have as our greatest tool is awareness, and that's being mindful of not just what you eat, not just how you eat, not just what exercise you do and how you move, but it's about how you live overall. It's going to have an impact both on your hormones, your metabolism, your digestion, therefore all the systems of the body that will affect your sleep, your hunger, your mood, your energy, and your cravings. So one of the things that one of the mistakes that people make, say for instance, if you're feeling that heaviness, or maybe you've put more moving, it could be that your lifestyle's out of balance. But also the big mistake that people make is they think, all I need to do, and we have people reinforce this message, which is bollocks, you just need to eat less and exercise more. That will work in the short term, which is why people are often on and off diets. It works in the short term, and people think, yeah, this works. Doesn't work in the long term, because what happens is that your metabolism, because the body's got this very effective natural intelligence, your metabolism pushes back. It makes you hungry, it makes you tired, it gives you cravings, and it saps your motivation. Because you're not eating enough to fuel yourself. We want to get that balance, that mix exactly right. So how I describe it is, you've got one of these you've got a down escalator, and we're trying to run up that escalator. You're always in that state of fighting against the body's natural state. What we want to be looking for is a state where you're just on the escalator and everything's working well. You're not in an uphill battle. So it's quite a complex way that we need to approach this, especially as we are starting to age and get to 30, 40 beyond. our metabolic and hormonal function starts to change. So I'm going to try and make this specific for this kind of age group, and also I'm going to try and simplify this for you. So when we look at exercise, or when we're looking at diet, it's not about quantity. With exercise, it's not a case that longer is better, longer in workouts, 2-3 hours at the gym. No, we don't want that in our balance. When it comes to diet, it's not a case of less is better. So quantity is not the thing as a whole, and we're looking to bring it into balance. I mentioned that we thrive in the right environment. We need to put the body into a state where it's in balance first. And this is where you need to become not a dieter, not an exercise fanatic, but a detective about your body. And just keep that in mind. You're looking to be a detective in your own body and your own system. So once we've got that, we will be instinctively the right amount of switching on that app to kickstart those functions, but enough rest at the other side. When we eat, we want to eat in a realistic way, a way that we can stick to, so that we're not either on that elevator, going backwards, fighting with it, sending our metabolic function out of whack. But we found a way that everything's functioning properly. Now, the key to this is, because it is a complex subject, you can do it simply with awareness. And this is why we spent that whole time grounding and putting you into a mindful state, so you can be conscious. Some of the things that might have cropped up for you, and once you are more mindful, you might realize, say for instance, where you get cravings. When you have an energy dip, which foods that you eat fuel you, or whether they don't fuel you. So what we're looking at is now not just you being grounded, listening to your body, but be mindful of how the choices you make are going to impact these 5 things. So let's start with eating, because this is a big one. Okay, so a mindful approach to eating is going to help you in many, many ways, or not. But also, this is going to have a positive effect on our hormones, on metabolic function, and our digestion when we slow down. So remember that rest and digest, the cold tap. We only want to be eating when we're slowed down. When we're at rest, you're sat at the table. It's all your old-fashioned things. Sit at the table, take your time while you eat, good 20 minutes over a meal. And this means that it gives the body a chance to process what you're taking in. You're basically putting your body into that environment where where the nutrients from the food that you're taking in are going to thrive, and they're going to be utilized properly. This approach needs to extend beyond the food, though, in an actual meal times. If you become more mindful, more slowed down in general, and you adopt what we call a rest-based lifestyle, everything will come into balance. So what do I mean by a rest-based lifestyle? A lot of us thinking, say for instance, people are in that state in January, I've got to put on weight, or I overindulge, I need to do more, and they get stressed about what they're doing. That might work for like 3 weeks, this eat less, exercise more thing, but once it gets to February, unless you're sticking to that for life, and that's not going to work eventually, you're going to have the backlash from it, the rebound effect. That's what we want to avoid. So we're looking for a rest-based lifestyle, and that means listening to your body's need for rest. So think relaxing walks, Epsom salts baths, supportive conversations with friends and yes, I said wine, it can be a relaxant. These are things that we don't think of when we think I need to get healthy. But actually spending time with friends, this can be something healthy. Plenty of cuddling time, even if it's just with your pet or something else, your teddy bear or whatever, or just people that you see throughout the day. Cuddles are going to help, and quality sleep, of course. So what happens here is this is going to lower the stress hormones and allow your metabolism to just take like this like relaxing sigh. So see these things, these rest-based activities, as important as your diet, exercise regimes, and because this is what's going to bring you into balance. So, and finally, yes, remember reinforcing that point, so, things like that. Let's just have a quick look at the hormones that are important. There's two major players. Don't worry about writing this down. I'm going to write insulin, which you'll have heard of, also known as the fat storer. So this is influenced by our carb intake and overconsumption of food. So basically, when you eat too much in one sitting, it's going to spike your insulin levels. Also, if you say, for instance, you just eat a meal with carbs, just a whole plate of spaghetti, even that's just going to send your insulin levels high. We need to think of having a bit of protein at every meal. Proteins and fats, don't be afraid of those at all. That's what the body is going to use as fuel, as long as eating too many carbs. Now, I wouldn't recommend, and especially in our age group, going this like completely carb free. But if you have just carbs, and especially first thing in the morning, just have carbs, just have toast in the morning, toast and marmalade, blood sugar levels are eventually going to cause your body to become resistant to insulin, meaning you're going to have difficulty burning fat. What with this as we get older and estrogen makes you insulin sensitive. So insulin can also affect your moods and your sleep. So we want to think of, and this is one of the most important teachings when we were running the fitness retreat. So cortisol, hot tap switched on, fight or flight, cortisol released. Problem is, because that is useful, because there will be very real and present dangers. Is that full? Cortisol is useful. We need to be able to switch on that hot tap, but we don't want it chronically switched on. So chronic stress can lead to in danger. So our cortisol levels are either elevated or very, very low, but both of which are going to lead to this like heavy, kind of fatty, fatigued body. So much about keeping these in check, and that's going to affect the next sort of phase of that, the next step in the process, which is our thyroid and our adrenal apps. So you'll have heard it. So the body's out of whack. You might have a overactive thyroid or an underactive thyroid. Both signs that the body's out of whack. This could be, many of these problems are resolved by getting the thyroid into balance, as are just general lifestyle stuff. What these things do, we've got insulin and cortisol, then we've got thyroid and adrenals that are affected by these two base things. Further up the top, what gets affected? Estrogen and progesterone are hormones. So let's start with insulin and cortisol. Get the building blocks of our hormones. And what's great is that we can affect these by balancing our blood sugar levels through how we eat, and also having a rest-based lifestyle. When we are exercising, we want intelligent exercise. These are these short bursts that, if you think about it, back in Paleolithic times, we needed to switch on that hot tap when we needed to flee from an animal. it was short, sharp bursts. It wasn't long, extended periods of time. The long, extended exercise you do, you want that to be lowering cortisol, cold tap body, recovering from that. So it's just nice, slow walking. So there's a little bit about, which way around I have to have it right on it. Here we go. There's a really simple process of doing this in terms of how you eat. You know, don't stress about this too much, but if you want, in an ideal world, what it like, how you eat to both balance your blood sugar levels and for the body to get everything that it needs, and especially I'm looking at this as especially this time of life. Let's call it a variety of these meals with protein and veggies. And one of these meals with a small portion of starch or carbs. Yeah, I'm saying starch because carbs can also be vegetables, but a nice energy-giving starch. Ideally, you have your little starch portion with your evening meal. That can help with your sleep, especially if this is, say, an ancient grain. Works really, really well. I won't go into that too much, but if you're interested in it, I can direct you some places that you can read more about this. Is he all right with let me just move over here. What would that plate look like for 3 meals a day? So I'll give you some examples of breakfasts that you can have. They're perfectly balanced. Notice they've got protein and fat in them, or your amino acids are going to start you off in the right way every meal, but also you could get an insulin spike if you just eat too much. Here's a little trick. Eat off smaller plates. Fill the plate up on a smaller plate. You trick your mind into eating a little bit less. But here's what your plate would look like, say lunchtime. So you'd have 75% veggies. And that's easy, isn't it, really? I'd recommend like a nice warming soup, vegetable soup that you made. And then maybe a little salad with tuna salad, chicken salad, or halloumi salad, or if you're vegan, or adding in one of your vegan options, making as well as your legumes. So there's a little bit more complicated to balance it, but it's still possible to follow this model. So that will be lunch. In fact, breakfast would look like that. I often for breakfast just have leftover from dinner, like loads of veggies and whatever the protein was. So but a quarter of the plate is your protein. And you have healthy fat in there somewhere. Sometimes it comes in the protein, or you put the healthy fats in the veggies. So making sure they're dressed well, and you cook them in something and it's got a bit of fat to it, or just adding into the whole thing some see warm salads at the moment, I would think, but also start with the soup. Not sure if I mentioned this before. Good idea to fill yourself up is to have your soup 20 minutes before your main meal. And in the evening, you're looking at a slightly different model. So you're looking at 50% veggies. When I say veggies, think of green leaf veggies rather than starchy veggies. They'd maybe come under your starch. So for instance, a sweet potato would maybe be your 25% starch here. That could be a brown rice, something like that. We want to focus on fiber, water, and protein at this stage of our lifespan as women, journey as women. I'm trying to think of a way to say it that doesn't because I'm so not a believer in that. I'm just coming into our line. So in this 25% is protein. So there's a simple model. And you can do loads with this. And then you literally roll your own, roll your own meals, and you understand how it works. Now, as we're starting this process of, maybe for some of you, it's fixing a metabolism that's become challenged if you've been on off dieting, or following that eat less, exercise more model. but also just to balance our hormones, you might want to start off, because it need to be eggs. Scrambled tofu is great too. Now, here's a little trick as well. If you suffer cravings, and especially in menopause, apparently it was starting 5 years ago. I probably didn't notice because I've had all the symptoms already all my life. A good thing for perimenopausal and women after of an age after that is cocoa powder. I'm not talking about chocolate, which has had fat and milk and sugar added to it. Cacao powder or cocoa powder, half a teaspoon in some hot water, and sip that and have it a few times a day. What that does is it kind of mimics serotonin and dopamine. So it's going to help you with cravings, and also it's going to add in the cocoa. What I've done recently, it's like, what if we mix those together? Because, we're thinking efficiency. So I'm doing like fresh ginger. I'm not sure if anybody else is going to go, well, that just sounds awful. Fresh ginger and cocoa powder mixed up. It's a really nice, warming, spicy drink, and it does loads of magical things. And I think it's accessible for everybody and doable from wherever you are. You don't need to think too fancy when it comes to all this stuff. But overall, what we're looking at for this process, 3 things. You want to assess where you are now, assess what's going on with you in terms of those 5 things. Investigate. So this is why it's good to keep this, not just food diary, but your life, assessing and investigating at the moment. So try some of these things, put in as much or as little as you like, keep doing what you've been doing, miracle mornings, but just start being mindful of the choices that you make throughout your day and throughout your week. Let's see what works, what doesn't work, so we can find it, so it's not too much information. Feel free to watch this again, take notes, and get in touch with any questions. Is there anybody out there that's watching now got any questions? If so, pop it in the box there. I'm pointing right. I don't know whether that's right. Hopefully you get to the point when you've got a bit more energy and motivation. You're building that tapas, remember. So go on there. 3 to 5 mini workouts a week. That's enough. Okay, they're intelligent, efficient as they are. As you understand the process, you'll be able to adapt them for you and make them more enjoyable. You've also got 3 mindful movement practices on there as well, and also breathing exercises. So just go on. We're still in. There's a practice phase there. Tomorrow you're going to have the whole personalization stuff as well. But just let that sink in for now. That's enough. Maybe listen again tomorrow, or read through the supporting material. This is all going to be available for you to have a look at, digest. See what I did there? At your own pace, and just take on what you want and discard the rest. But hopefully you've learned something tonight that helps you on your journey. So we've got no questions, and then I will bid you a good night, and I will see you next week, if not before. Another little yoga session on Sunday. If anybody wants any other kinds, I've got loads of videos, so specific in mind that you want to work on, and you're looking for something, an additional practice to do in the week, let me know and I can send you anything across. Okay. Take care and namaste.